The Board Improvement Plan for Student Achievement and Well-Being, the BIPSA, is a key resource for school and department improvement planning. Our district's 3 foci for improvement, mathematics, mental health, and modern learning, as well as the foundational practices of equity, innovation, and leadership, came from careful analysis of a broad spectrum of system data gathered from multiple sources over time. The York Region District School Board targets and 5-year goals of the BIPSA will be achieved through the collective and coherent improvement actions of individual schools within the system. Individual schools develop school improvement plans for student achievement and well-being, SIPSAs, that connect their work to the board foci while recognizing the importance of local context. The process of school improvement is a continuous cycle of planning, implementing, and monitoring strategic actions designed to improve student achievement and well-being. The SIPSA is not a thing to be rolled out, a static template to be filled in, or a product. It is not about gathering proof or meeting endpoints and deadlines. Instead, the SIPSA organizer is a tool to capture and share a school's journey. The content of a school's SIPSA is populated in an ongoing and organic way that recognizes the iterative nature of school improvement. Therefore, a SIPSA is always in progress. The YRDSB System Improvement Learning Cycle, SILC, supports schools throughout the SIPSA process. It offers individuals and teams a set of prompting and reflective questions to guide and deepen their work. At its core, the SILC is a learning assessment cycle. As with all assessment cycles, it is designed to help teams build and enact a shared understanding of where they are going, where they are now, and how they will close the gap. Just like a teacher's classroom learning assessment cycle, it begins with diagnostic assessment to understand strengths and needs. It requires the establishment of clear, shared, and visible goals and outcomes in order to select and sequence learning actions. And finally, it involves a continuous loop of assessment for and as learning as a way to monitor progress toward goals.
The top portion of the SIPSA organizer is intended to provide a holistic picture of the school, beginning with a broad overview of its context, as well as key improvement work happening throughout the school. In order to truly understand the work and learning needed to support students, educators use multiple sources of data to create a school profile inclusive of strengths and needs, as well as voices from all stakeholders. A variety of data sources are available from the BWW to support a full analysis of strengths and needs. These data sources can be found on the BWW on the School Reports data page that links from each strategy's landing page. The prompts in the SILC help educators explore data mindfully by asking them to consider: what are the limitations of these data? Whose voices are represented? Whose are not? And what assumptions do we need to be aware of? Note that the SILC provides a visual reminder that the context, strengths, and needs assessment feeds directly into the identification of the challenge of practice and to consider how student strengths can be leveraged in relation to their needs. With a holistic picture of the school in mind, educators work together to identify a challenge or challenges of practice in the SIPSA, which addresses the following questions. What are our urgent student learning needs? And what educator learning is needed to address the urgent student needs? It is important to remember that the challenge of practice has to be within the instructional core for real improvement to occur. You can raise the level of the content that students are taught. You can increase the skill and knowledge that teachers bring to the teaching of that content. And you can increase the level of student agency in the learning of the content. If you change any single element of the instructional core, you have to change the other two to affect student learning. Pause the video here to consider this question. How does the consideration of multiple sources of data or evidence help ensure that a school picks the right inch to focus the work and learning of school improvement?
The planning and monitoring section of the organizer can help inform the theory of action. This section of the organizer reflects the connection between intended outcomes and implementation. Schools need to carefully identify the changes they expect to see and hear within the instructional core before selecting and engaging in specific action. Thinking about the strengths, needs, and challenge of practice, teams identify broad goals or goals that they will be working on in the SILC. In other words, what are we trying to improve in terms of student achievement and well-being? School teams may record their goals in the Theory of Action section of the organizer. For school teams working from an existing theory of action, this might be a good time to revisit the then statement to ensure that the goals reflect their most recent thinking. An integral step of goal setting is the identification of intended outcomes, statements of what it will look like, sound like, when the goal has been achieved. These are expressed in terms of the desired changes to student learning outcomes, student learning behaviors, and educator learning and practice. It is important to note that these are planned from the student outcomes, but they are implemented from the educator learning. This design-down approach is essential for the monitoring process which follows.
With shared understanding of the improvement goals and intended outcomes, teams can now begin to strategically select improvement actions to close the gap between where they are now and where they want to be. This includes planning for the professional learning and resources needed to support implementation of chosen actions. The SILC provides some prompts and questions which are useful for selecting BIPSA actions which might help achieve the identified goals. Note that specific questions ask teams to consider assumptions, potential challenges, the chronology of actions, and to make connections to the foundational practices thinking prompts. Actions may be selected from across the 3 BIPSA strategies to support achievement of the intended outcomes. The Professional Learning and Resources Support section of the SIPSA organizer provide a space to list and/or link both the examples and instances of professional learning on the left and the specific resources and supports accessed to support the learning on the right. Note the key phrases on the SIPSA organizer. List and/or link professional learning as it emerges, and list and/or link resources supports as it is accessed. Pause the video here to consider this question. How will the clear identification of intended outcomes support the rest of the planning process and the monitoring process?
With clearly identified outcomes and a few strategically selected actions, a school is well positioned to articulate or refine their theory of action. Theories of action are always in draft, meaning they are revisited and refined continuously as educators take action, collect evidence, and monitor progress towards goals and intended outcomes. The green section of the SIPSA organizer is called Planning for Implementation and Monitoring. Monitoring is the ongoing gathering and analysis of evidence to check progress towards goals. School improvement teams monitor both implementation of actions, did we do what we said we were going to do, and impact of actions, did the actions produce the outcome we intended. The process of planning to monitor implementation and impact begins alongside the process of identifying goals and actions. Once again, the SILC provides some prompts to support the process. There are many ways to gather leading evidence of what teams are learning and trying and the impact of those actions on student learning. 2 key principles to keep in mind are: 1. Monitoring needs to be done collaboratively by those who are doing the work and can act upon the results. And 2. Just like a classroom teacher's assessment for as learning, it needs to be timely and ongoing while implementation is still in progress. Pause the video here to consider this question. What processes and tools could help you capture the evidence of where educators are in relation to the intended outcomes and where students are in relation to the intended outcomes?
The blue portion of the SIPSA organizer provides a space to capture and share key evidence throughout the improvement process. Teams can insert links to key evidence and then summarize their analysis and interpretation of that evidence. This part of the monitoring process helps teams use the evidence they collect to see what's working, what's not working yet, and what the next steps might be. Teams document how their actions might be changed, adapted, or refined in response to the evidence. Because evidence of implementation and impact are being collected in an ongoing way, the blue portion of the SIPSA can be used to share, discuss, and celebrate a school's journey at any point in the SIPSA process. We look forward to working and learning with schools, as together we deepen our understanding of the board foci, the foundational practices, and the system improvement learning cycle itself. Please watch for further supports that schools can access as they move forward in this most important work.